Well, I'm joined now from Edinburgh by Lord Fowkes of Cumnock, the former Labour MP, and by the SNP MEP Alan Smith.
There you go.
Alan Smith, why are you dressed as a penguin?
Well, I thought Lord Fowkes was going to turn up in his ermine, so I was just trying to keep up. But I'm hot foot from the Green Energy Awards here in Edinburgh tonight. I'm not up for an award myself, but
all right, that'll do.
Just great to see the industry doing as well.
He's got a point, George. If you'd worn the ermine, you could have raised the tone of this programme no end.
Gordon, some people actually believe that we sit in that chamber wearing ermine all the time. You see these cartoons. I wore it when I was introduced. I can't remember if I've worn it much since then.
Right, OK, now we've had a competition to the fashion event in the Lithgow Palace this week. Your letter, which you're expecting to get, what exactly is the status of that?
Well, I'm not expecting to get any letter because I'm not on the Economic Affairs Committee. I'm on the European Union Select Committee. But the Economic Affairs Select Committee have written to Barroso as part of their study, asking him to clarify the position. And I understand that when I was in Brussels yesterday, I was told the letter was in draft and it's likely to be sent soon.
Right, and how then do you know what it says?
Because I read The Scotsman.
Yes, but the trouble is this is all going round in circles. The Scotsman seems to have got it from either you or the British government or the European Commission, and then you're saying you got it from, not you personally, but from the House of Lords.
Yeah, they didn't get it from... They didn't get it from me, but I mean, when I was in Brussels yesterday, I took the opportunity of getting a briefing, an informal off-the-record briefing from both the Commission and the Council, and they confirmed what the British government and others have confirmed anyway, is that in the very unlikely, and it is an unlikely event of a yes vote, what would happen would be that there would be negotiations. Scotland would be part of the United Kingdom until there was a deal for separation, and then there would be legislation in the United Kingdom Parliament to create a separate state, and Scotland would become a separate state. And any separate state has to apply for membership. They would be entitled. They would be entitled to a member of the council. They would be entitled to a commissioner, and obviously all the existing members have to consider whether they want that to happen.
Right, Alan Smith. It's not just George Fowkes saying this, is it? It looks like the European Commission have said this in a letter. The Scotsman are reporting tomorrow, I should tell you, that David Martin, the Labour, one of your colleagues, a Labour MEP, has written to Barroso and asking if he stands by the comments he made before, which was pretty much what George Fowkes said, and has received a reply from Barroso saying yes, he does. And of course, we know that Herman Van Rompuy says much the same thing. Why not just accept that, rather than trying to claim that somehow the position is different?
Well, this is where bear in mind that we're all here tonight because of a story in a newspaper on a letter that hasn't been sent and didn't exist and hasn't been signed off yet. There's an awful lot of shadowboxing going on over this. So what we've said, and I've said on this programme before now, Gordon, with yourself, that the treaties are silent. There's no way for us actually legally to leave. Now, George Fowkes is absolutely right. We have the vote, and then the day after the vote, negotiations start with London and Edinburgh having the discussions about how we disentangle ourselves and create the independent state. The European Commission President Barroso has made very clear that the European Parliament, the European Commission, is not going to get into those discussions, but they will take due cognizance of what those discussions are coming up with. So all these discussions run parallel, and then independent state takes place within the EU and UK and international law aspects simultaneously.
But that doesn't seem to square with what Barroso and Rompuy have both said about Scotland having to reapply for membership. I mean, what you're saying does not seem to be the same thing as that.
Well, this is where different words are being used in different ways by different people, and it is just getting... This story is like the Brigadoon of Scottish politics. It appears and then it reappears and then it goes quiet and then it comes back again. There is no question that we are part of the EU territory. We're represented by MEPs. Our students are away on the Erasmus programme. We're hosting students here. All of this takes place concurrently with the UK negotiations and then takes effect at the same point. The Edinburgh Agreement, really the importance of the Edinburgh Agreement has been missed by an awful lot of commentators on this. The European Commission, Spain, all the other countries have made very clear that a negotiated outcome will be respected, and then given the treaties are silent, the Commission will do exactly what the Commission always does, which will take a pragmatic approach that says, we don't want to leave you, we don't want to lose you, you want to stay, in exactly the same way as East German reunification was legally impossible but a way was found. We'll find a way as well. We negotiate a new status from within.
Right. Why Alan, do you not... I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable. Why do you not, George Fowles, why do you... what exactly is it you think is wrong with that analysis?
No, Alan's right up to the last thing. And the last point, he's wrong, because once it is a separate state, it is a new state. It's something that the nationalists have been longing for. But then it's entitled to its own council member, its own commissioner, and it has to apply, and it's up to the existing members, and the United Kingdom will be one of the existing members, to decide the terms, if it wants them to join, the terms on which they would join. And, I mean, you know, Alex Salmond is deliberately trying to make this into an issue that there's some uncertainty over when there is no uncertainty. He pretended to have legal advice. Well, Alan, you remember that.
All right, let's forget about advice. Let's forget about legal advice. I just want to try to pin down. So what you're saying, George Fowles, is that you agree with Alan Smith, but the distinction between you say, is that no matter what the result of negotiations between Scotland and the rest of the United Kingdom and Scotland and the European Union, at some point, once it became independent, Scotland would have to reapply for membership of the EU. Okay, Alan Smith, why is that wrong in your view?
It may be that all the countries would want them to become members.
Yeah, sure. Why is that wrong in your view, Alan Smith?
Well, the significance of the Edinburgh Agreement, really, we have a legally defined watertight agreement between the Edinburgh and London governments, which gives us a process and commits, and crucially commits both.
But hang on, there's nothing in the Edinburgh Agreement which says that the European Union would... I mean, the Edinburgh Agreement lays down part of it, that the government of the United Kingdom, should Scotland decide to leave, would cooperate with that. There's nothing in it which says that Scotland would not have to reapply for membership of the European Union.
No, indeed not, but it does commit both governments to implement the will of the Scottish people. So once we've had the yes vote, it's very clear that Scotland is going to be an aspiring member state. The European Commission runs its negotiations with us concurrently with the UK negotiations. It's not a question of we become an independent state and then we apply. That's just not the way this is going to work. It's not realistic to suggest that it is. In exactly the same way that the Commission has always looked at this stuff with realpolitik. They don't want to leave us. We don't want it. They don't want to lose us. We want to stay. We will be remaining within and negotiating a new status from within.
Alec, this is one of Alex Salmond's ploys. He wants to make the people of Scotland believe that when we separate, nothing will change. We'll still be part of the European Union, we'll still have the Queen, all that kind of thing. That's to try and comfort people. Now, already the Yes campaign is falling apart. Margot, I saw on BBC News earlier today. Margot doesn't want Scotland to be part of the European Union.
I just want to pin this down, because George Fowles, actually, what difference does it make whether you're right or Alan Smith is right? I mean, there's going to have to be negotiations. I mean, clearly, if Scotland, in or out of the European Union, said something like, no, that common agricultural policy and common fisheries policy, we're having none of that, it couldn't stay in the European Union. But beyond that, where's the difference between what the pair of you are saying?
There is a crucial difference, because a new member state applying, it has to be agreed by the Council by unanimity. And any one member state could veto it. So Spain, for example, could veto it because it doesn't want a precedent to be set in the case of Catalonia, or any other country could veto it.
We're running out of time. Briefly, Alan Smith, because that is the fear that people like yourself presumably have, is that there's been talk of Cyprus doing this as well, but certainly the Spanish government would not be very keen on your process as you've described it, because it would set a precedent.
Well, we've made very clear that we're entirely sui generis in international law. We do not set a precedent, in exactly the same way as East German reunification didn't set a precedent for us. There is no precedent. The Spanish foreign ministers made very clear that we don't set a precedent, we don't cause any issues for any other member state. And if we take a democratic vote, that will be respected.
All right, Luke, I'm sorry, we're going to have to leave it there. To be continued. Thank you both very much indeed.
Pleasure.
Now,